Okay, let's get started today. We're going to talk about where to get started in fishing. If you've never fished before, how much can it cost you to get into it? What's a good price range to look at? I was tasked with this from a person at work. Asked me if I would get their husband some fishing equipment. So first question I asked was, sure, what are we fishing for? And they didn't really have an answer. I don't think they've ever fished before, so they didn't know what species they were after. They didn't have a preference. Just an all-around, wants to get into fishing, might be retiring soon, looking for a hobby. So I'm sure there's lots of guys and gals out there that are in the same boat that want to get started fishing, and maybe don't know where to start or don't know what to buy, don't know what species they're after, just don't know where to begin. So we're going to go over that today in this video. Okay, so full disclaimer here, I did get everything from Bass Pro online. There are multiple other places you can shop and get probably less expensive stuff and everything. But everything today is going to be from Bass Pro Shop, online ordered, was sent within a couple days. And I have no idea what's in these boxes. I'm going to open them as we go. So we're going to start with the littler boxes and go to the bigger boxes. And then at the end we'll talk about the rod and reel, which was the most important part of the setup. So here we go. Box number one. There's a lot of paper. Then we've got some fishing line and a little bag of grubs. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the fishing line here. This is Trilene, as you can see, Trilene Big Game Mono. It's a very inexpensive line. There's 1,500 yards here. Monofilament is a little bit stretchy, but it's very cheap. I think this was $7.99, $8.99 for 1,500 yards, which will spool a regular spinning reel probably, I don't know, 20 to 30, 40. It'll last you forever. It'll last you a long time, guys. I went with 10 pound and I went with clear. And the reason I went with clear is it will work in all water conditions. The 10 pound, because we don't know what species we're after, if we were targeting bluegill or crappie, I would definitely go down to like a 6, 5, 4 pound maybe. Some go as low as even 2. And if I was targeting muskie or northerns exclusively, I would bump this up to 20 or 25 pound mono, but I would still stick with a starter spool of big game. And then I got a little bag of Kalin's grubs, 2-inch lunker grubs, which we'll talk about a little bit more, but ultimately a little grub this size is good for a lot of different species. Maybe a little bit too big for bluegill, but you can absolutely catch crappie, trout, bass will bite this, small northerns, even large northerns will bite small baits sometimes. So this is a good all-around bait. We'll talk about what we're going to put that on in a little bit, but that is in color pumpkin and pumpkin spice, pumpkin S&P, pumpkin salt and pepper. So pumpkin is like an orangish color, which happens to be a very good color in the spring, orange and red for all species. Not sure why that is, but it is. So that's what we got in the first box, just those two little items. Next box here is just one item in there, and that is a lipless crankbait. This is more of a bass bait or a northern pike bait, but it will catch multiple species as well. Let's see what it says on the back. It says super sharp hooks, stainless steel split ring, finely detailed finish, yada yada. It doesn't even list the color. It was very inexpensive, but for a starter, it will absolutely catch fish. With being treble hook baits, they will kind of hook themselves. This has got like a gold and then a silver belly, with some black lines and a black top. So gold and silver are always good natural colors. Gold seems to do very well for bass in our northern lakes here. So yeah, that's a good all-around bass and pike lure. Let's see, we get into a little bit bigger box. Maybe there's more than one or two items in this. Want more paper? Yeah, and this one's got a bunch of stuff in it. So we're gonna start with this. This is what I would consider a necessity for any beginning fisherman. Needle nose pliers you're gonna need to get out of those toothy critters. Scissors you're gonna need to be cutting a line, tying knots, things like that. So this is a Rapala combo. Scissors and pliers, needle nose pliers. If you have those two things, you don't need the Rapala brand. You don't need to go and buy new ones. If you've got a needle nose pliers laying around in the garage, ask mom and dad if you can have them for fishing if you're a younger one. And any scissors will work, kitchen scissors, any cheap scissors will work. But absolute necessity is pliers and scissors. It looks like there's a little carrying case, which would be helpful if you're pond hopping. So that's a necessity. We got some bullet weights in here, and these are great for Texas rigs. Let's see, I got a couple other weights here too. So let's go about this a little bit different. Hooks and weights. We'll talk about how these go together. Okay. So we got a couple different sizes of hooks here, and some weights and a weighted hook. So this little weighted hook is a little black and white jig head. This is in, I believe, a 16th ounce. Boy, none of this stuff has marks on it. I believe I bought a 16th ounce black and white jig head there, if you can see that. And that will pair up nicely. I'm not going to open these and pair them up, but that would pair up nicely with the grub. You're just going to thread the grub onto the jig head, and just a slow, steady retrieve, and you'll pick up all kinds of fish that way. So that goes pretty good with that. And then we've got, well, I am going to open this because I know these will go right back down. Here is what is considered an offset round bend. I believe this is a 3/0. Again, these stickers are in the middle of everything. I believe this is a 3/0, which is a good all-around size. So that is great for Texas rig worms, which we'll get into a little bit. And this goes on the front. This is a bullet weight, and it is I believe this is a 1/4 ounce. Boy, oh boy, none of this stuff is 3/16 ounce. I'm sorry. So 3/16 ounce steel bullet weight. Very inexpensive. This is a pack of, I think, 25. So there's 25 of them here. And I'll show you in another video how to rig up a Texas rig. But ultimately, you're going to be able to put this on. You can put a tube on here, a worm, a lizard, a creature bait, fluke, Senkos. You can put a ton of things on a 3/0 round bend hook. and be able to do just fine. Again, this is a starter kit. You can go down the rabbit hole in a million different ways once you lock in on what species you want to fish for. So those two are kind of a set thing. This is a size 0 split shot, which is way bigger than I expected. I'm going to have to get another smaller thing of split shot. I wanted a 16th ounce split shot that crimps on the line for bluegill or smaller panfish, things like that. With this hook here, you can see that that's a little tiny hook. You can tie drop shot, you can tie real worm on there if you buy a night crawler, chunk of night crawler, and just a little split shot. I will show you that if I can find a pack of my own, I'm going to have to change these out. This is way too big. I thought a size 0 was small. Apparently size 0 is not small, so for the consumer, don't buy a size 0 split shot unless you're putting a great big hook and a big shiner or sinker on it. That is almost a useless sinker. So, but that in a smaller version with this hook will do all kinds of things for some of the smaller fish, trout, panfish, crappie, those kind of things. With that setup, we've got a couple bobbers. These are slip bobbers, okay, and some slip bobber stops. That in itself is a little bit tricky. I might make a video on how that works, but ultimately you put a bobber, or some people down south will call that a cork, even though they're not all made of cork. You put a bobber out there, and the slip bobber, it goes up and down your line so you can cast it and still keep the hook and the bait closer to the bottom, or whatever desired depth you want. That's a whole nother topic, but great starting out. You can put a lot of things under a slip bobber. You can put a minnow, a live minnow under there. You can put a hair fly. You can put a night crawler. A lot of things you can do with a bobber. Great starting out. Just to get bit, this is where I would start, with a much smaller sinker. I will show you the size sinker before this video is out. Actually, I might pause this right here. Give me a second. Okay, here is what I was talking about, and there's two different styles here. These are these have been sitting around a while, but they'll still work. They're just lead. I'm not sure why they have all this white stuff on them, but they'll work just fine. This first style, you will crimp on, and once it's on, you basically have to cut it off because there's no flange on the back. This style has a little flange where you can pinch that with your pliers and open it up, pinch this to close it, and then your line will run through there. This is the size sinker that I was expecting to get with size 0. This is not a size 0, obviously, so I'm guessing the bigger the number, the smaller. But you're looking for like a 16th ounce for weight. So these will go in his pack. I might have to clean them up so they look newer, but I screwed that up. So we're going to give him some smaller sinkers to go with the bobbers, to go with the littler hooks, to put on night crawlers, whatever we're going to do there. Alright, here is two, man, okay, I can't get the sticker off of this. So, this is, rooster tail is what they call it, or inline spinner. And I've got two different colors. I got a black and a white, or silver. And ultimately, guys, if you're picking colors just to start, everything in nature, if you think about it, almost everything in nature, I guess I won't say everything in nature, I'm not an expert in that, but most things in nature have some color blacks in them and some color whites, or a combination of the two. So black or white or both. There'll be some days where black is a go-to color. some days where white is a go-to color. All depends on what you're catching fish on, and ultimately, to me, and we'll get into this in other videos, but color is more of a confidence thing, the confidence you have, than anything else. But black and white is in nature everywhere. So fish are curious. They're going to try to see what that little thing is. What happens is you reel this through the water. This little spinner throws off some flash. They come up, check it out, and it's small enough to, almost small enough for all species. It's probably a little bit too big for panfish, bluegills, but for the most part you can catch a lot of different species on these. This is more specified to bass fishing or northern. Northern will absolutely come up and hammer this too, and it's called a popper. This is in a perch pattern. It's got some orange on the belly, which is the most important color because that's what the fish are going to see under the water. They will get to see a little bit of that yellow. The green and the black, that's just for the fishermen. You see that on the top. It should almost be white so you can see it a little bit better. But what you do is you cast this out. It stays on the top of the water, and you pop it or chug it through the water. It makes a little commotion. Bass and northern will come up, and when they see that, they'll either explode on it or swirl on it. Very fun bite. So, topwater popper, and last box. More paper. Lots more paper. And a tackle box. That's all that's in there. Tackle box is obviously great. You're gonna need something to carry all this stuff. You could get away with like a large gallon Ziploc bag, I suppose, but if you're walking down to the local pond, this is gonna look a lot better. It's gonna be more precise. I'll open this up so you can see what's going on in here. This is obviously not a product review. I've never owned this particular one. I do have tackle boxes, and I do have cloth tackle boxes. This is where you're going to be able to separate these out and break up some of these things and put them in there however you like, however you organize it. Sinkers, hooks, top water bait, rattle bait, soft plastics, and so on. So that is that. One other thing that I am throwing in, like I said, this has been a coworker for 4 or 5 years. So something that I am throwing in, and I'll do a better video of this, is some baits. This is called the Hugs Hog Snacks Snack Pack. The Hugs has been dropped from the name, so it's just Hog Snacks baits. And what we've got in here is four of these craws, which would go great on that 3/0 hook. So 4 craws, 4 tubes, 4 drop shot worms, 4 Senkos, 4 large ribbon tail worms. I don't think I'm missing anything. I might be missing something, but I'm going to throw this in as a gift to him for his retirement or birthday. You can check out these on hogsnacksbait@gmail.com. You can email us, and we'll get you. We'll make what you need, basically, if it's not already made. But I have a bunch of these pre-made. This is green pumpkin purple. Again, this is a great northern color. This is a color I have a lot of confidence in. So we're going to throw that in. And then we're going to get to the most important aspect of fishing, or most important tool, I guess, if you will. That is the rod and the reel. Okay, so again, you can spend $15 at your local Walmart and get yourself a spinning reel, spinning rod combo. That is likely to break within your first 4 or 5 times out. That's personal experience. I've grown up. I've fished those. I now have expensive rods up to $300 and $400 rods. And ultimately, what I can tell you, as you go up in price point, a couple things happen. The first thing, the most important thing, is the quality goes up. You should be able to get some length out of how long you use it. You'll be able to abuse it a little bit more without it breaking. The second thing is the weight, just how comfortable it is to fish. The more you spend, generally, the lighter the rod and reel combo is. Third thing is balance. There is generally a balance factor which can make it, even if it's heavier, can make it feel lighter. And then the last thing would be sensitivity, which the more I research, and like I've said, I've spent $10, $15 on a combo, and now I've got like $400 combos, and there is a sensitivity difference. I believe that there isn't as much of a sensitivity difference as the companies want you to believe. I believe that at a certain point it's sensitive enough. A lot of it comes with your technique, how tight your line is while presenting the bait. That's going to give you a lot of sensitivity. What kind of line? Mono is going to be the least sensitive, but the most user-friendly. Braid is sensitive as long as it's at least semi-tight. There's zero stretch in that. And then fluorocarbon is also more sensitive than mono. So you can spend a ton of money, and sensitivity is something that you will notice up to a certain point. After that, I feel like it's more of a technique than it is what the rod is made of. With that said, this is a Shimano. I have had multiple brands. I'm not going to badmouth any brands, but I've had multiple brands. Shimano, Dobyns, Daiwa are all my favorites. Again, I've used Lew's, I've used Abu Garcia, I have Abu Garcia I use, I have Lew's that I use. All the brands are good. They make pretty much the same thing in the same price point. You're not going to see if you spend $100, you're not going to see a vast difference between Daiwa and Abu Garcia. What I will say is you'll find you'll get bad luck on some things where they'll break and you'll never go back to them, or you'll not be happy with the way something performs the way that you think it should, and you're going to form your own opinion on what brand to go with. I think Shimano's a very good brand, so that's what we went with. This combination was almost half of what the whole cost of the setup was. Again, guys, this is just getting started. You've never fished before. You don't know what you're fishing for. This combo was $99.99, so $100. And that is probably about as cheap as I would go for both before you get into a lack of quality. That's me personally. If your budget doesn't allow this, you can absolutely go to Walmart, get yourself a rod and reel off there for 15, 20 bucks. With inflation, it's probably 50 now, but you can definitely go and do that and get these things and get started fishing. Okay, So you've come this far. You've seen the things that I would get somebody started with. I think this is a good starting setup. This and add a box of night crawlers and or worms and or minnows, and you could go out and fish and have a lot of fun doing it. So grand total, we're at $220, a little bit less than that with everything. That is not including the hog snacks that I threw in, but around $220, and the rod and reel was $100 of that. So that's also with the pliers. That was another $20, give or take, with the pliers and the scissors combo. So between the rod and the reel and the pliers and the scissors, if you've got those things already, you can get these few baits, and then you can go into a whole bunch of other baits. You can get into spinner baits, crank baits, all kinds of different things. These are just what I would say is the bare minimum. Let's go see if we can catch some fish. And as a general rule, I would start with the smallest bait or live bait to see if you get the most bites, or to try and get the most bites. So that would either be a night crawler on a slip bobber, or one of those grubs, and just reel it really slow, and you should have a lot of fun. Yeah, I think that's where we should end this. If you guys have any questions about any of the things that we purchased here, or anything else about getting started in fishing, technique specific, we're going to get into those things. I've already had a couple of requests on what colors when, and what all kinds of different things already. So I've got a lot of ideas out there to get this channel rolling. If you like what I've done in the last couple videos, like, subscribe, and share. Thank you.